Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Ryan Tripp with Team Fat to Muscle. This is my first weekly training that I'll be sending out. So today's topic, by popular demand, is how to meal prepping in bulk, how to create different meals, grocery shopping, etc. So we got a lot of messages geared around that. Another one being tracking alcohol, which I'll be doing next week. So I just didn't want to have too many things on this first one. So I'm going to kind of dive right in. But here are some of the key points. We're just going to talk about why we're going to meal prep, what meals, how we're going to do it. Why having a good grocery list, a simple one, is important. A few of our recipes, and then at the end we're going to do a little bit of Q&A. So I will get into it. So first off, meal prepping in bulk. Why do we do it? Why do you want to prep in bulk? So first thing would be having food prepared for the week is what will pretty much either make or break your success every week. And to kind of dive a little bit deeper, a lot of people always say, yeah, man, I just didn't have the time, so I had to have something quick. And they'll go spend, 10 minutes driving somewhere, and then they'll spend 10 minutes in the drive-thru, and then 10 minutes driving back, and then 10 minutes to eat. And they spent 40 minutes, and they're like, yeah, I didn't have 30 or 40 minutes to make a meal. And I'm like, no, you just didn't have the shit in your fridge. And so, it really just boils down to being prepared. People will make excuses all day long. They'll say they don't have time to go for a 20-minute walk, but they can sit in the Starbucks drive-thru for 25 minutes. So it's really how you frame it. And again, if you're a member of this program, or if you're just someone else watching and potentially just watching this, it might make a little bit more sense if you're already in the program, but you understand how we do everything. I try to make everything as frictionless as possible. Plan your meals ahead of time. Everything. You need only a couple hours. One day of the week, I can meal prep for the whole week in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I call it about 3 hours just because I use a crock pot to cook my chicken, and so that process in itself takes about 3 hours. But between putting it in there and taking it out and shredding it, it's like a 15-minute process. So I do this every single Thursday. It fits in my schedule easy. So and lastly, it's really easy to grab junk or something quick if you don't plan ahead. So again, kind of like I referenced in the first point, people will literally spend 30 minutes. They don't really think about it like that. They're just like, oh, it'll take 5 minutes to go through the drive-thru to get some trash food. But they don't think about, it takes 10 minutes for them to decide. It takes them, another 10 minutes while they're driving, like, oh, where are we going? Then they got to sit in the drive-thru, then they got to drive back, then they got to eat the food. And so obviously it's more expensive that way. You're not hitting your nutrition goal. And if you're a member of this program, you already know that you're not hitting, your goals, which, this is a paid program. And so if you're paying to be in here, we're here to get results. If you want to get the results, obviously you need to prepare your stuff and be prepared ahead of time. So lastly, it eliminates stress. For me personally, I'll kind of get into it a little bit deeper down at the end of towards the end of the training, but, it makes everything pretty frictionless for me. I eat the same thing for breakfast every single day, and I eat the same thing for a snack every single night, which consists of oatmeal, honey, peanut butter, chocolate chips, some cinnamon, a little bit of salt, and then sometimes I'll have that with like a yogurt, and I'll just I don't mix the two, but just kind of have them like together. It's a good paired up meal. So all that really leaves me with to figure out for the day is, okay, I can either go out to dinner, and then I only have to really, so long as I choose decent food, I only really have to figure out my lunch has to be something kind of very specific. I might have to have more or less carbs. I might have to have more or less fat, but I only really have to figure out one meal to hit my macros for the day. And so I think where a lot of people go wrong is they don't want to meal prep. They want to try and cook, these fancy recipes right out of the gate. And the biggest thing is prep your food in bulk and, keep it simple. And so we'll kind of dive a little bit deeper into this. So what I do is my how-to prep is, first off, I figure out what I'm going to eat. A lot of people go to the store and they're like, oh, I'm going to eat this and I'm going to eat this and this and this and this. And then, they spend $500-600 on food. They're very hyped. It's awesome. It's great. Then they waste about, 20 or 30% of it, which even if you only waste $10, $15, $20 worth of food over, week over week, multiply that by 5 years and you're throwing away a lot of dollars. So there's just really no point to do it. So what I do is I figure out what I'm going to eat. So as you can see in this example here, this is just, a few things tracked, like protein pancakes, strawberries, chocolate chips. So I made myself some protein pancakes, and I had a couple of string cheeses. For lunch, you can see I had pasta down here. But anyways, so pretty much what I do is figure out, okay, if I want to have, steak, for instance, or if I want to have like a taco bowl, or if I want to have like a Mexican chicken dish, I need to figure out what proteins I want, what meals I'm going to make. And so I always have steak, ground beef, shredded chicken ready to go in the fridge. On Thursdays, we prep all of our protein that we need, because if I don't do this, it's really hard for me to hit my daily protein intake, which is about 185 grams currently. Protein's also essential for building muscle. And so a lot of you guys are going through fat loss phases, but I've hammered into your head that protein's absolutely essential. I kind of believe in the rule of 0.7 grams of protein to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So being around a 200-pound guy, 185-pound guy, somewhere in between that 160 to 200 gram of protein range makes sense for me. I do very strenuous activity 6 to 7 times per week. So being on that upper end, about a gram per pound of body weight, is what fits me best. That's what I stick to. So let's see. If you know what you want your lunches and dinners look like for the week, pretty much, makes it a simple and fast process. So, find out what works best for you. So I know that I want steak, ground beef, shredded chicken. The reason that I choose those when I go shopping is because I'm going to make steak and potatoes for dinner almost every single night, or it's ground beef burritos, or shredded chicken burritos or quesadillas, with, something like Brussels sprouts, rice bowls, chicken quesadillas, all that stuff mixed between my lunch and dinner. So I pretty much put all my protein into a big bowl. So when I go to eat it, I can literally just weigh out what I need the night before, if I'm going to be gone all day, or I'll weigh it out in containers. And if I'm just at home, obviously I work from home, I just have like a bowl full of 2 pounds of ground beef. I've got another bowl full of a couple pounds of shredded chicken, and then I do keep steak on hand like once or twice a week, and I'll cook that, eat it as leftovers for the next day. So essentially I've just got a protein, fat, and a carb source, and so it keeps it really, really simple. If you have shredded chicken ready to go, if you have peppers diced up, ready to go, if you have tortillas in the fridge, and keep other things on hand, it makes your meal prep extremely simple. So next question, how do I prep it? I get a lot of questions, people saying, hey, I would love to see that on my meal plan, or hey, I'm tracking my macros that you've set up for me, but I'm getting bored eating the same things. How do I cook it? What else do I cook? I don't really know how, or you just don't know how to do it. People are like, I don't want chicken breasts. So everybody asks about our shredded chicken recipe. So for steak, cook a little under your desired temp. So when you go to heat it up for a meal later, if you want to throw it in a pan, if you want to throw it in a microwave, again, it depends on what you do for work. So takes about 6 to 12 minutes, depending on the cut, size of the steak, everything. I either broil it, grill it, or air fry it. Lately, I've been enjoying cooking outside, so I'll either barbecue or I set my air fryer outside so it doesn't stink up the house. I'll just air fry a steak from raw. You just pretty much season it up, toss it in, flip it at 3 minutes, check it at 6, maybe give it another minute or two, and pull it off, stick it on a plate. As for shredded chicken, I prep it in the crock pot. It's super simple. It's kind of like a lazy way to meal prep, if you will. I pretty much put it in my crock pot, 3 to 5 chicken breasts, and let it sit there for like 4, for the most part, hours, sometimes like 6 or 7 if they're frozen chicken breasts and I'm lazy and forgot to defrost them. I'll leave it in there for like 6 or 7 hours. So after that, pretty much once it's good and cooked. Oh, and by the way, I put that in, I just dump like a can of enchilada sauce in there. So I dump enchilada sauce in there, let it cook and shred it up. When it's done, pour a little more sauce on it. It's really low calorie. It's got a little bit of sodium in it, but sodium's not really the enemy. If you're drinking that gallon of water a day and working out 7 times per week, you're actually likely probably need more. So as you can probably see, that shouldn't take long depending on the foods you make. You just need to prioritize the time to also, hit your goals. So next thing I want to get into is the shopping list. Now this is right off of my phone. I made this about 4 years ago, back in 2017 or 18. And this is kind of my dummy-proof grocery list. So a lot of people always talk about not, knowing what to buy when they shop. So keep it simple. Make a bullet list in your notes like this. And if you guys want this, just ask, and I'm happy to send it to anybody that requests it. Add your favorite proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, veggies, sauces. Add what you want for breakfast, snacks, and don't forget to have some fun food as well. So again, this is long-term lifestyle that we're promoting, that we're teaching people to live. And so like if you want protein pancakes, put your protein pancakes in there. If you want Rice Krispies, put your Rice Krispies in there. Put it under carbs. If you want some peanut M&Ms, put your peanut M&Ms in there. And of course, obviously you got to have pizza every once in a while, right? So yeah, it might be a little hard on the macros, but again, we've talked about how to incorporate cheat meals, how to adjust for it. So put foods on here that you're going to eat frequently. Go through this each week as you plan your meals like I do and see what you need, what you want. Like, do I need steak this week? Do I want to make tacos? Yes or no? So if you want it, you'd simply just check, if I want protein bars, I'd check it. If I want beef patties, I'd check it. If I wanted steak, I'd check it. And then if I wanted peanut butter, I'd just check it. And so the reason I do this is because as you go through the store, you pretty much just uncheck it. You don't have to put together another list. You don't have to remember everything. I make this as frictionless, easy as possible. It's just simple and effective. It speeds everything up, keeps you from getting to add things because it's always already there. So I would just suggest doing this in your notes. If you got a Samsung, do it in whatever app you guys have. But so this one, by popular request, is our Go-Teen protein prep, or Go-To protein prep. So this is how we make our shredded chicken. This right here is actually a picture of me a few years ago, back when I was getting into things. As you can see, I got a lot of chicken breasts. I cooked these in the oven, these on the barbecue, those in the oven, and I'm sitting here dicing up 8 pounds of chicken. I ate that in quinoa and not a whole lot of other stuff. I was pretty bland. I ate healthy, and I got pretty good shape, but I plateaued pretty quickly because I didn't know how much my body needed. So I didn't know if I was in a deficit, if I was in a surplus. I couldn't gain muscle when I wanted to gain muscle. I couldn't get a six-pack when I wanted a six-pack. So pain in the ass, but so I make the shredded chicken, which I've talked about, and I'll show that in the next picture here. But I do this every single week. It's high protein. It's easy. It's only 3 ingredients. I hate plain chicken breasts, and you can make a lot of different meals. So anything from tacos, burrito bowls, teriyaki bowls, quesadillas, etc. So this is the recipe right here for Mexican shredded chicken. So I'm going to move this. Ingredients: 3 to 5 chicken breasts, 1 to 2 cans of enchilada sauce, and taco seasoning. So pretty much place either your thawed chicken breasts in the crock pot, and you're going to run that for about 3 to 4 hours on high. Or if they're frozen, you could go up to 6 to 7 hours. I'd recommend checking it at 6. If it shreds easy, it's done. If it doesn't shred easy, leave it in there for another hour. Pour the sauce in there, let it cook in there. Pour it in there till they're all fully covered. Sprinkle the seasoning all over it. Cook on high for 4 hours. Pretty much place it in a bowl, or if you have a certain type like a KitchenAid blender, you can actually shred chicken with those. I have yet to get one. I just haven't wanted to buy a $400 mixer quite yet. So anyways, one thing to note, the calories are fairly little, so don't worry about tracking the enchilada sauce. They're very, very minimal. It's not like all of it absorbs into the chicken. However, if you're going to use it and put it on your food later on and consume it, us at Team Fat to Muscle, we're all about accuracy. And so I would definitely suggest tracking it, but things like peppers, like diced peppers that I put in my burritos, I don't track those. There's a lot of veggies that you don't necessarily need to track because they are lower in carbs. So we'll get on to the next slide here. A lot of you guys are asking for new meal ideas. Always confused on what to eat. So keep it simple. This is the reason I put this here is this is pretty much what I have on a weekly basis. Actually, I haven't had Halo Top in a while, but you can make a lot of stuff. You just really have to be creative. Between steak, beef, chicken. I'm a little bit over that ground turkey phase, but if you still are in that ground turkey phase, of course you can still incorporate it in. I think this stuff's better right now. It's in season for me, if you will. So burrito bowls, enchiladas, tacos, chicken kebabs, steak bowls, sandwiches, buffalo shredded chicken. I go to Outback Steakhouse all the time, and this is my go-to meal right here. I get steak, French fries, grilled onions. If you want to have carbs and you don't want to have rice at night, make yourself a protein shake with Cheerios. Do protein, almond milk, mix it in with Cheerios. Have yourself some Halo Top with a protein shake. Have yourself some I think this is like cornflakes or Raisin Bran here. I can't think of the name, but you know, your food shouldn't have to be boring. You just have to get creative with seasonings. You know, this is chicken. Some of these are chicken, some of these are beef. This is steak. This is steak. You could do this same thing right here with steak. You could do the same thing right here with steak, ground beef, chicken, ground turkey, and again with this bowl as well. So, and again, just be creative. But if you plan it out, there really should be no reason that you feel like you have to eat the same thing every single week. So, I think that pretty much wraps everything up. Last thing is I want to get into the questions. I'll get that slide pulled up. All right, so I got those questions pulled up here. Slides aren't cooperating with me. So, meal prep questions. We already kind of went over how to make sure this as frictionless as possible. But when you get home from the grocery store, don't put anything away. Have a list of everything that you're going to cook and just get right to it. You know, if you're going to put stuff in the crock pot, start with that. Start with that right there. All your other food, all your other meats, I just suggest when you meal prep, go and cook all your protein first. So get your chicken in the crock pot, get it cooking. Get your ground beef out there cooking. If you're cooking steak, get it out there, get it cooking. Next question. How do I prep potatoes? Okay, what are there? Yeah, so how do I prep potatoes in bulk and then weigh them out? So yeah, this is kind of a common one. I've had this asked about rice, and we kind of go over this in the welcome packet a little bit. So potatoes, depending on how you cook them, you know, if you cook them in a microwave, if you steam them, like if you boil them, like whatever it is, sometimes they will retain more water, and sometimes they retain less water. You know, if you cook them to the point where they're really crunchy and crispy, they obviously are going to be lighter and lighter. So what I would recommend, if you kind of have a preferred method of cooking them, is weigh out. I'm going to use an example here because it's an exact serving size. If you weighed out 288 grams of like russet potatoes, so you diced them all up, weighed them out, seasoned them up, and then you threw them in the like an air fryer. If you threw them on a baking sheet in the oven, weigh them afterwards and see what they are. Potatoes almost always for me seem to weigh about half of what the starting weight was, so they burn off at about 50% in weight. A lot of that moisture evaporates out. So if I'm making sense here, so you know that'd be about that's 2 servings of potatoes, the 288 grams, by the way. And so you know, if it burns off to 144, right, then if you needed half of that, you'd need 72 grams of potatoes. So that would be 1 serving. So that's how you kind of go about that. Same thing with you know, when I cook rice, you've got to either look at the dry weight or the cooked weight. So not every container of rice has that. You can look it up, and I can also send you some more information on rice specifically if you got a question about it. I personally use like the Uncle Ben's rice. It's comes prepackaged in a bag. You just heat it up because it's convenient for me. And so I will cook rice like when I'm going through my bulking phase, and this winter, and I do eat a lot of rice. I won't eat as much bagged rice just because I eat it in such large quantities to get all my calories in. But without trailing off, to answer that question directly is, just make sure that you know the difference between cooked weight and uncooked weight. Like if you do 100 grams of uncooked rice and then go and add water to it and cook it, you're going to be like, how in the hell would I ever eat this much rice? Versus doing the cooked portion weight. So next question says, can I cook in oil when prepping? I'm just going to answer with my gut. No, you should not. However, there are a couple little hacks that I can teach you. But no, it gets way too complicated. It'll hinder your progress. I actually posted on Instagram the other day about weighing your food. So a lot of people, when they think tablespoon of olive oil, they don't actually weigh that, or they don't pour it into a tablespoon. They just dump it in there, and a lot of times they're dumping out 300 or 400 calories instead of the 1 serving of 100. Like there's already like 14 grams of fat in a serving of olive oil. So if you 4x that obviously and then cook it into your food that you're going to eat over the week, you're adding an extra 15, 20, 30, 40 grams of fat like per day, depending on how much of whatever you're eating, that you cook. So yeah, in short, no. There are a couple sprays that you can cook with, like something that I'll use, like right here, for example. Let's see if we can exit out. So right here, this is a 0-calorie avocado oil spray. Don't use a lot of it. It could definitely upset your stomach if you use too much. And I'm not going to say it's the best thing on earth, but this is a 0-calorie spray right here. So if you need something, if you're going to air fry something, you want it crispy, go ahead and buy this right here. Again, 0-calorie spray. You cannot use regular avocado oil or olive oil, or it will hinder your progress. So yeah, that's what I sprayed on these right here. I spray them beforehand, and then I dump a little seasoning on it. It sticks to it. The oil, burns. It gets crispy. I did the same thing right here. I'll do the same thing on my steak. So yeah, just use it when you want, but again, always make sure that it's 0-calorie. Next question: what sauces can I use? Yeah, so you can use pretty much any sauce. That's kind of a broad question. If it's a 0-calorie sauce like hot sauce, almost all hot sauces, that's not a blanket statement, but almost all hot sauces are 0-calorie. So yeah, just keep it simple. Like 0-calorie stuff is the best thing ever because it's just one less thing that you have to track. You don't really have to pay attention to. However, if you want to use a teriyaki sauce or A1 on your steak, if you cook your steak right, you probably shouldn't need steak sauce. Just kidding, but kind of being serious there. So yeah, just weigh the sauce out. You know what I mean? Like, we're all obviously following straightforward nutrition system. Track your calories, make it fit. So if you want to fit in some barbecue sauce, depending on if you buy sugar-free barbecue sauce or regular barbecue sauce, you might be looking at 6 grams of carbs versus 22. Just weigh it out. It'll say right on there. I'm going to pull this back up again. But it'll say right on here, there we go, that serving size about a quarter second of the spray or 0.25 grams. So if this was just normal avocado oil here, I'll pull it up so you guys can see. Okay. All right, perfect right here. So 1 tablespoon, 14 grams, 124 calories. If you guys are following here, 14 grams of fat. So if you 3x that, you'd have what? 42 grams. Yeah, 28. Yeah, 14, 20, 14, 28, 42 grams of fat right there versus your 14. So you can have this. Just weigh out 14 grams avocado oil. There's obviously on MyFitnessPal barcode scanner. You guys all know that. If you're a client of mine, you guys all know that. So other than that, yeah, food shouldn't have to be dreadful. Like you can use a low-fat ranch and just track it. Use sugar-free barbecue sauce. Let's see what else we have. All right, so one other question that I got was about tracking alcohol. If I can get my mouse back over here. Okay, perfect. So yeah, one of the next questions is about tracking alcohol. So I'm going to give a quick little brief explanation of that, and then I'm going to wrap this training up. This one's going a little long. Okay. Here we go. So, in short, alcohol is a macronutrient, and while it serves as energy, i.e. contains calories, it has no nutritional benefit whatsoever. So alcohol is 7 calories per gram, but for the purpose of counting macros, you have to track it as carbs or fat. The reason it's tracked as carbs or fat is because it is not protein. Protein is essential for building muscle. Protein is essential for a lot of things. But yeah, so alcohol in itself is an additional macronutrient, but it's non-essential. So your essential macronutrients are protein, fat, and carbs. Some keto people might argue that differently, but that's what your body needs. So to find nutrition info, look on the drink itself. Most alcohol doesn't have to have it because it's not regulated by the FDA. So let's see here. So the math. So we're going to use a Bud Light for this example, and I'll kind of go into this a little bit deeper. So right here, this is what we have. This is a Bud Light. It says it's 13 grams of carbs, and this you can't find this information on the can, but something like a White Claw will have this information on the can. So 13 grams of carbs. So let's check the math on it. So 150 calories. So if we do 13 times 4, we get 52. So it's, there's only 52 calories that's shown here. There's 0 fat, 0 protein. So it's saying that it's only 13 grams of carbs. So that's false. That's you can't track it that way because there is 98 calories that are unaccounted for. And the reason that they're unaccounted for is because alcohol companies are not required to put the nutritional value, like they don't have to put the macronutrient breakdown. They just have to put, if they choose to do it, they have to put total calories, but they don't have to put anything like as far as macros, since alcohol is not listed in here, which is kind of a little bit slimy if you think about it. And we'll get into that because White Claw obviously markets their drink as a 100-calorie drink with only 2 grams of carbs. And so, yeah, alcohol, what I mean by it when it says alcohol has value as energy and calories, but no nutritional values such as vitamin, minerals, fiber, etc. So when your body pretty much, like when alcohol enters your body, it stops its normal process of burning fat, everything else, and it focuses on dispersing alcohol. So like if you think about blood alcohol content for a minute, your body, they say rule of thumb, will dissipate about a beer per hour. That obviously varies on the size of the person, their frequency of drinking, a lot of different things. But the more time that passes, the lower your BAC becomes. So, example, if you're intoxicated, that's how you sober up over time. That's why it works that way. So, if you got questions about this right here, like Tony said, hey, going out with friends, get drinks and some buddies on Friday, what should I do? This is what you do right here. So if you're gonna have 3 beers, do the math. You're gonna have 330 calories, divide it by 4, track it as 83 grams of carbs. If you want to track it as fat, you would just divide it by 9. You do 330 divided by 9. If you wanted to split the difference, you could do 110 divided by 9, track some as fat, and 220 divided by 4, and track some of it as carb. So that's kind of how you go about that. I want to show you guys one last example here. I've showed a lot of you guys this. White Claw. Okay. So right here. So now in my food diary, this one right here, it shows the alcohol. This website in particular is showing the alcohol grams. So if you do 14 times 7, it equals 98. So they round upward. 100-calorie drink. They market it as 2 grams of carbs. So a lot of people are like, yep, I could have 10 White Claws and it's only 20 grams of carbs. But you actually have 2,000 calories, which if guy or girl, that's a large percentage. That's probably 120 or 30% of the average women's daily food intake, based on that off 1,500 calories. And for guys, that's probably about anywhere from 60 to 80% of your daily caloric intake. So as you can see, 10 White Claws, only being 20 grams of carbs is a crock of shit. And excuse the language, but that's just what it is. So nothing against you guys if you want to have drinks. I personally, when I drink, I don't track everything perfectly, but I do keep this in the back of my head. I understand the effect that alcohol has on my body, and I do understand that when I do have a goal set in mind, knowing this information ahead of time makes it a lot easier for me to make that decision to not overindulge on food so much, and then also overconsume an alcohol in unison with it. So if I do plan on having more drinks than I typically do, I will reduce my caloric intake a little bit the day before, maybe 2 days leading up to it, by 200 to 400 calories. And if I do that per day, that leaves me with 800 calories, because your weight loss goal, right? It's all based on weekly averages. So as you go through week after week after week, if you make sure that you adjust your calories down and kind of plan ahead of time, and then you try and hit them close the day of, you go a little bit over, and then the day or two after, so if you're planning for like a wedding or something, 2 or 3 days before, you could pull 200 calories, then 300, then 400. The day of, you try and hit them as close as you can, still have your alcohol, still enjoy yourself, and then the next day you kind of taper back into your normal diet. If it's infrequent, you've got to expect weight fluctuations too. I know I've talked to a lot of people about this. They're like, hey, I don't want it to throw my progress off, but I really, really, really want to drink. And I'm like, okay, well, what's your goal, and why do you want to hit that goal, and why do you have, why is your time frame 12 weeks instead of 12 months? If you want to hit that goal in 12 weeks, alcohol is non-essential to your body. You do not need it. It's not going to help you hit your goal any faster. However, if you want to enjoy the process, not to say that you can't enjoy it without alcohol, but if you want to enjoy it for yourself, and it would be more enjoyable to you to have burgers and things and here and there, alcohol on the weekends, and take it a little bit slower, you can still ultimately hit your goal, maybe in a 6 to 12 month time frame rather than 12 weeks. And so just note that it is going to be slower. You are going to deal with things like weight fluctuations, bloating, a lot of other things. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this training up, but hopefully this was helpful. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys put out on the next weekly questions check-in. So anyways, yeah, hope you guys have a good week. Take care.